Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Beyond the Panel podcast. My name is Colin.
I'm Jared.
And today we are putting Zack Snyder on trial. Well, not Zack Snyder on trial. We're putting Zack Snyder's version of Superman on trial. Couple of prefaces to this episode before everybody gets all up in arms, if anybody's planning to get up in arms. We are not attacking Zack Snyder's character. From everything I've seen, he seems like he seems like a fine person. We both agree that we enjoy his cinematography. Yeah. And like he's got a really good visual eye. I'm never going to take that away from him. We're also not parsing every interview and what meaning Zack was trying to get across, because what we're doing is we're looking at how we watched these movies and what we got from them and how that translates to Superman, right? So it's like if Zack meant for something to come across differently, but to us it didn't, then that means, at least in my perspective, he didn't do his job as a filmmaker.
We're operating within the context of the movie themselves.
Exactly. So yeah, this is not an attack on Zack Snyder. He's a perfectly fine person, and we're operating within the context of the film, not within the context of what he might have been trying to get across, because it wasn't there.
Or his future plans for movies that never happened or whatever else.
We will touch on future plans and what we didn't like about them, because he has openly said this is what we're going with, but we are going to try and stick pretty closely to what we saw on screen. Mm-hmm. So before we get into that, if you enjoy the show, which we really, really hope you do, we have a lot of fun making this, give us a like on YouTube, or if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, give us a review there. And if you can write a review as well, that just helps push visibility. The more reviewed a show is on most podcast platforms, the higher a chance is that it'll get pushed out to people, because it helps the algorithm figure out what people like. So that would be great. And yeah. So, how did Zack Snyder get Superman wrong?
Let me count the ways.
I have a note here with all this stuff, and as a joke, the heading for it is Zack Snyder's list of sins. And I just think that's funny. But anyways, first thing, and this is a pretty big one, and this is in no particular order. We're not going chronologically. This is just sort of
no, we're not working through the movies. We're not going from beginning to end.
But a big one is John Kent in general, but specifically how he reacts to Clark and his powers.
Yeah, and how he guides him as a person. They give different. We're probably there's gonna be a decent amount of comparisons probably to the Christopher Reeves Superman movie from the 70s.
Yeah,
that's
as well as to the comics.
Version. Yeah, and that's the other on-screen version of John Kent we've gotten, and I
may also throw some Smallville comparisons in.
Yeah, he handles it very differently. Part of me in this kind of more semi-realistic world I think Zack's trying to go for. It can make sense, but at the same time, John Kent's oddly so afraid for his son getting harmed, which is normal. But again, he's Superman. Nothing really. This is before kryptonite is any indication it exists. So by all accounts,
she's invincible.
We would be fine.
Yeah,
and this is something a lot of people brought up, but a lot of people have criticized before. But the whole idea of Clark's talking about, should I have let that bus full of kids go? And he's like, maybe. And it's that's not what.
It's an incredibly cynical worldview, and it doesn't feel justified.
No, the death of a bus full of children is not equivalent or greater an exchange than possibly Clark being discovered.
Yeah, I think a better middle ground to the character of John Kent is where he's I'm worried that if people find out what you are, they're going to hate you. They're going to be scared of you. But you're doing the right thing, because we raised you that essentially, and with great power comes great responsibility. They never say that, but they do raise Clark with those sort of values.
Yeah.
That it's you have these powers and you should be using them properly, and rather than just hiding them. And then letting John die in a tornado. because he just told Clark no.
Like, there's a million ways you could work around it. He could do there's a million different things he could do, because like at this point he's basically an adult. Like, there's a myriad of ways he could throw up cover. He could like kick dirt up at super speed or something, and if you don't see, and grab him and bring him back. Yeah, like
again. you could honestly go at such a speed, because you're freaking Superman, that it just looks like the tornado miraculously blew him back to you guys without sucking him in.
Yeah,
and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, it was a miracle! Wow." And I'm gonna go down the list because you brought up this point. The handling of his death and the cause of his death. In the Reeves film, it's a heart attack. Yeah. And in this, he gets sucked into a tornado. And these are very different because Clark could have saved him, and he was just told not to. And the lesson Clark learns here is nothing. Nothing. Whereas the lesson he learns with his father dying of a heart attack is, for all my power, for all my abilities, I can't save everyone. And that's okay. I don't have to like it, but I have to accept it.
Yeah, John's death in Man of Steel, the lesson it teaches Superman is don't put someone's life above keeping your secret. Which is
like completely at odds with, I think, the character of Superman as a whole, because we get to Death of Superman where he puts everyone else's life above his own. And that's the whole point of the character. And
Superman doesn't wear a mask. This is a different thing than other characters. Like, his appearance is out there, and he just is clever of disguising when he's Clark.
Yeah, like
anyone
he doesn't want people to figure it out, but it's also
anyone who's good enough could figure it out.
It's also like generally, I don't know if this is like widespread, but it seems like a good portion of the town of Smallville has an idea. They're like, maybe we're not going to say anything, but maybe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it's very weird, and I think just like John Kent is such an important person to Clark, and he impacts Clark in his development in so many ways, that I think having him be so cynical and grumpy almost, and just not teach Clark that, hey, using your powers for good is a good thing, but it's just like, no, you should hide. It's just so weird, and it feels just at odds with.
Like, I understand a father wanting to protect his son.
Oh, definitely.
That's what he's doing, but it's not like, as an adult, he should learn, especially with Clark becoming an adult at the time of when he dies, he should know that you can't keep protecting him, and he has these abilities, he has these powers, and it's like a negative on the world to not share them and use them for good. Oddly, it's like, it's weird because now that I think about it, it's kind of the opposite of what like the hologram of Jor-El tells him, where like the whole, like, it's like, I think it was used in the trailer, the original trailer, like the speech he gives him about, like, you can be like, you can bring them into the light and all that stuff, like, that's all weirdly, that's more what is in tune with what he should be being taught.
It seems like
coming from a hologram of Jor-El instead of John.
I'm getting into like a speculative territory here, but it almost like you bringing it up, it seems like Zack's version, he doesn't want John Kent to be his father figure. He wants Jor-El to be the father figure.
Yeah, and Jor-El had a lot more screen time, and giving that whole extended prologue, I think, was kind of.
And so it's like, if we push John Kent out this way, now Clark can look up to Jor-El, and I feel like that defeats the purpose. I think the purpose has always been that, like, both father figures are there and both teach him stuff. I think a more artful way to have done the John Kent stuff would have been like, Clark saves the bus and then goes to bed, and he's like creeping out. He like hears his parents talking, like creeps out of his room, and like
John's arguing with Martha about it. That's fine.
And like John's saying to Martha, he's like, "Is it wrong that I almost wish he just didn't?" Because I'm so scared of what they're going to do.
Would have been handled better than him actively telling Clark to his face, and we shouldn't save those kids.
And like, not have it where John's like, this is the right thing, but like he's questioning it. He's like, I'm glad he saved those kids. I couldn't imagine like all these families losing their children, but I'm
worried about our boy being discovered.
Yeah, I'm scared for him, and him coming to the conclusion that this is the right thing. And then even like Clark saves, even if Clark like saved him from the tornado, but like just the shock of it all, he died of a heart attack afterwards.
Yeah.
I think that's just like this punch to Clark where it's like, you can save people from tornadoes, but you can't stop a heart attack.
You can't cure heart failure.
Yeah. I think that would have been a more interesting way to do it. And it would have, like, you know, you're adding that layer of complexity and parental worry to John, but without him like cutting off Clark trying to be a hero.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the John Kent notes, which I'm now going to delete so I have a clearer list to look at. I guess, you know, I said we weren't going to do this in any order, but may as well stick to like his youth. And again, you brought this up while we were planning this episode, that as a teenager and a kid, there's no excitement from his powers.
No, we don't really see any joy in it. It's just fear and like worry and confusion about him. And in the beginning, that makes sense. But like, then again, it's been a while since I've seen Man of Steel, so maybe I'm missing a scene. But
we really should rewatch.
Overall, it feels like that he's not embracing the power in any way. It seems he's treating it almost like it's a curse.
Yeah.
More than anything, like he knows to do the right thing because he saves the kids, but he doesn't. Like, there's no moment of him taking any sort of pride in what he's done, or the fact, like, he's not. And partly this circles back to the John Kent scene again, where it's like he should be happy that he saved a bunch of his classmates.
Yeah.
And he should be proud of the fact. And like, you get to show him even being like, I saved all those kids, Dad. And then if you want to keep the John Kent stuff in, you can have him.
Shouldn't want to.
Which you shouldn't want to. But like, if you keep that stuff, same feeling in, you can have Clark being all excited about I did that. I saved them. Like, they're all fine. And then have John maybe reprimand him for being like, or start the doubting of it. And that's what we still don't agree with. But at least
you can
then,
show
that Clark enjoys having the powers, which other mediums, again, the Christopher Reeves one, you see him running alongside the train, like waving to the girl.
And I just,
stuff.
in my head,
being superhuman.
In my head, I have this constant image of like a young Clark Kent sprinting like at top speed through the cornfields, just thrilled that he's able to do this. If we got that wrong, which we might have, let us know. Politely. This turns back into, I think, the biggest complaint that people have about Snyder's Superman is he's just miserable all the time, seemingly. He's just sad.
He's constantly like burdened with the weight of responsibility, and and it's like his first movie, so in some ways, yeah, that can make sense. Like, other movies have kind of done the same thing. Like Spider-Man sort of did in a way too.
Yeah.
And like Spider-Man 2, you know, like he's getting, like, it's kind of weighing on him, and that's fine, but not like, I can't think of like a single scene in the movie where he's like
happy to have saved someone. Yeah,
or like really showing that he's like maybe very briefly he has like a moment of being himself when he's when he's like surrenders to the military and he's talking to Lois, like the whole S on, like, you know, it stands for hope thing.
Yeah,
so kind of the right gist, but not enough.
Yeah,
it's just not enough. Like, it's not. Also, this is a minor. This popped in my head now. We didn't discuss this before, but the color palette of the movie is way too dark.
Oh, it's incredibly drab. I
think I saw someone edited it where they just like turn the contrast up a bit, and it looks so much better.
I mean, like, that's just a Dark Knight trilogy thing.
Yeah,
where they were like, we're gonna make it like, and it's okay to want to make Batman gritty and realistic. I don't think Superman should be gritty and realistic. I think he should be bright, vibrant, and hopeful. And he wasn't that, you know?
Yeah, you can ground a man with gadgets and realism, but a man who can fly and shoot lasers out of his eyes, you can't really make that realistic.
Well, and then there's this argument, and I've heard this argument a number of times, that, oh, well, what they were trying to do was bring him, at the conclusion of everything at the end of Justice League, he would be, you know, the hopeful Superman. Okay, but I've seen the Snyder Cut twice. He's barely that at the end of that. You know?
The closest we get is some scenes in the Joss Whedon version.
Yeah, and I mean, like, we can all agree the Joss Whedon version's not good, but at least, like, the scene where the kids are filming him on the cell phone, sure, it looks janky, but it's a Superman who feels like he loves this planet and loves these people and wants to be there for them, you know?
Yeah, weird CGI aside, it's closest to what Superman should actually act like.
And it's really disappointing because that's what everybody focused on in that scene was the weird CGI. But it's like, yeah, I get it. But like, you close your eyes and fine. Now you have a great Superman audio bite still, where he's interacting. He's not just like, hey kids, put that away. He's like, oh hey, how you doing? You know, that's who Superman is. He's a man of the people. You know.
Yeah.
And we don't really get to see a lot of that. We just get to see a lot of him kind of distant and cold. And I'm going to bring up another point. Like I'm kind of jumping around the list to sort of like segue things together rather than just randomly doing things. But like we talked about how he's ashamed, and this is especially in BVS. Like, yeah, people are like treating him like a god, and it's a little weird, but it's just like this constant shame of it that he has, you know? Like, he never addresses it publicly where he's like, you know, I'm just doing what any man would do, you know, thank you all, have a nice, like, no, he just kind of stands there solemnly as people reach out to him.
Yeah.
Which I think is just a weird shot in general. Like, there's so much Christ allegory in Superman already, you didn't need to make it even more blatant. But
sometimes Zack makes it really blatant.
Oh, it's super blatant. It's super obvious.
Oh, he's in a church talking to a priest, and there's a stained glass of Jesus over him, and he flies up, he falls out of the ship in space, and he's got his arms out. It's like, oh boy.
Oh my goodness! It's the beauty of any Christ allegory in Superman is the subtlety of it. You know,
I was watching a review for the movie for Man of Steel once, and just the guy inlaid audio of just someone yelling, "I am Jesus," over and over, getting louder. He's like, "What is that? What's that in the background?" It just gets louder and louder.
That's beautiful.
But
it's in, you know, what I'm gonna say is like a good depiction of Superman is he's happy that people are happy to see him, I guess. No, he doesn't want to be revered, but
he doesn't want to be worshipped or revered as a god or anything. But we've said this in our last video. At the end of the day, he's just a first responder with a greater set of abilities and tools, and that's how he should. Like a fireman, or well, I'm leaving cops aside because that's a whole mess of things in the States right now.
Yeah,
but at least with like firemen and stuff or
paramedics,
like EMTs, like they're not there to be praised.
No,
they're doing their job. And they're saving people because that's what they've been trained to do, and that's what they do. They save people. And
like you can deal with that with a scene of him saying like, "I'm just here to save people," rather than solemnly looking off into the middle distance while people reach out for him in a desaturated shot.
Yeah, that one shot is really weird.
It's so clear in my head. I hate it so much.
I mean, in some way, to give some credit to Zack, I can in like if something like that actually happened, yeah, there'd be people treating him like a god, you know, reaching out to him. It's like people with celebrities, like, but in the realm of the movie, it's not what Superman should be.
It's just like the weird solemnness of him staring off into the distance during it that I think makes it so weird.
He's not even just like no, like everyone, it's okay, just like
yeah,
no, I'm
like
all right,
he doesn't like talk about it at all. And so I mean, yeah, it's very weird, and it's this shame that he has of it, and it's never really like talked about. It's just kind of there.
Yeah, it's all imagery more so than any dialogue.
And it's like, okay, you're showing us that this is happening, but like, and I guess like the only purpose it has is to piss off Batman.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they treat him like a god, and I hate it. Like, okay, it's weird. Kind of sounds like you're just jealous. Now, I mean, all right, that brings us like into another like list of notes. It's just like the whole Batman Superman section. Because it's weird.
Yeah, it's a weird mess of character arcs.
So first and foremost is just like the gross mishandling of their relationship at all. In the comics, and we talked about this in the last episode, they are close. They are best friends.
There was some like bristling in the beginning, like before, but it was never...
Yeah,
I don't know, like
and even
being antagonists each other or anything like that.
Even like while there was bristling, there was still respect, and that grew into just like legitimate friendship. Like outside of costume, Bruce and Clark are friends, right? Like Lois and Clark and Bruce and his woman of the week or Selene or whoever go on dates together. This is canon, whether you like it or not. It is.
Yeah, I don't remember which comic it was, but I remember seeing a fun series of panels where I think Selena and Lois are like shopping together, and they're like trying clothes and chatting.
I'm fairly certain it's from the Tom King run.
Might be, yeah. I think it is. That's when they were actually like a couple for a while. Or we Selena
and it was nice. It was fun, right? But they just immediately wanted Batman to be paranoid and aggressive about Superman.
Well, that leads into, I think, one of our points is that they wanted Dark Knight Returns right away.
Yeah. And I often joke that it feels like the only comic Snyder read in preparation for any of his movies was Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
He read that and he's like, well, this gives me an understanding of all the characters I need. And I doubt he did that. I mean, I'm sure he did his research, but it felt like he was obviously very inspired by that. And it's a classic for a reason. I don't like it, but I understand why it's a classic and why a lot of people do like it. And,
but your second movie, jumping right into like this in this new universe, you're establishing a Batman. You're just jumping right into a Batman who's been around for a long time. There's already a history there with a Joker we haven't seen yet at that point.
Yeah.
And Robin's dead for whatever reason. You don't even know which Robin it was. And it's just already you're just skipping time right to the end of the line here.
And like
and it doesn't work.
We talked about it together, like when we were planning this, and people have made the joke. It's like that is like the second movie in the MCU being Civil War. It doesn't make sense. There's all these stakes. And you're told to care about this fight between people. But it's like the reason a Batman-Superman fight works in Dark Knight Rises is because it's building off of a pre-existing history from them where they were friends.
Yeah, just like anyone, just imagine if the first movie if Captain America First Avenger was the first movie we got in the MCU. Yep. And then movie 2, they just introduce Iron Man. Like he's already been Iron Man for a while. There's no introduction to Tony. And then
Happy's dead.
Like he gets frozen in the ice at the end of Cap 1. Beginning of movie 2, he's unfrozen, and then Tony's already been around for a while, no introduction to him, and they get into some sort of argument and start fighting. It makes no sense.
And he's like, oh, I hate you because you're so patriotic and dumb, and I'm bitter and angry. I was like, nah, that's weird. And I'm not saying if they handled the Cap Iron Man relationship perfectly in the MCU, because they did, and I have complaints about that. But things were built to over time.
To get there.
Yeah, things are built to over time. This is just like the reason a Batman-Superman fight ever is meaningful is because they're friends. Because there was, at a time, respect there. Or because there is respect there, right? In Dark Knight Returns, it makes sense because Batman has basically gone super vigilante, and Superman has gone super government.
Yeah, the impetus for the conflict in that is Batman's basically made like a police state of Gotham to keep it safe, and the government doesn't like that.
And the president sends in Superman to stop it, and Clark even before this shows up, and him and Bruce talk, and he's like, "You can't do this. Like they're gonna send me in to stop you."
Yeah, they take the time to talk first,
and Bruce is like, "Oh, I don't care."
And like the first interaction I think we have with Superman and Batman in BVS is just. Like he busts Batman's car, and then they give vague threats to each other, like "Do you bleed?"
Yeah,
and then it's like, "See you like this guy, don't go to it," and then they just part ways, and that's it. It's like
which
they have like a weird pissing contest.
Doesn't make sense to either of the characters because Batman is smarter than to just jump into a fight with a guy, and Superman is kinder than to just jump into a fight with a guy.
Yeah,
one of them, if characterized correctly, would talk. One of them would talk.
That brief scene of them, like when they met in their other persona beforehand. I think that was before.
I do believe it was before, yes.
But even then, that was still just kind of like they probably kind of knew who each other were.
It was very passive aggressive right away.
But yeah, it was still like prickly.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
And I understand that they are like, yeah, well, Batman saw him destroying Metropolis while fighting Zod, which we'll talk about later. But like, that's a really dumb reason for Batman to just decide to hate this guy.
Yeah, like the odds alone that Zod survived and found Earth and all that stuff is pretty slim already. So, like, you're being mad at it's not like Superman was like
just randomly breaking buildings for fun.
Yeah.
And then the reason that to make Superman dislike Batman, they turn Batman into a huge jerk who brands people.
Yeah.
That's like I don't like that. And people are like, no, but it makes him grittier. No, it's really dumb.
It's like, because he's at the end of his line. It's like, no.
But we didn't have anything getting there. It's meaningless because we didn't build there with him.
there's an irony in it too, because with the source material, because like in BVS, he's like mowing people down with his car and stuff, and like and all that. But there's a scene specifically in Dark Knight Returns where like I think like his like followers want to use guns, and he's like, these are like the tools of the enemy. Like they're not like we're above that. And it's like, no, you're not using guns. Like we don't kill. Like we'll restore order, but we don't kill people. And that's the whole thing. But and people are like, well, like the supporters and like when they saw BVS, people argue about like Batman shouldn't kill. It's like, well, Batman kills the time, and like he killed in the other movies. It's like, yeah, I mean, if he it's like even 89 didn't get it right. That's some of those aspects wrong too. But
I will forever hate
right is the Batman.
I will forever hate the "I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you" line.
Yeah,
everyone is like that. That just gave the Batman should kill fanboys so much ammo. And it's like
kind of shocking. The only one that hasn't broken the taboo yet is the Batman.
Yeah. Oh, and it's because the Batman is the best on-screen version we've had. Like Batman is, and I think people are so excited to write him as this edgelord samurai, like kickboxer ninja guy, that they miss the fact that there is a deep amount of compassion in Batman. And that's a big part of why he doesn't kill. Like, yeah, okay, I get, like, yes, there's a big part of it is, oh, well, if I kill, then I'm no better than them. But it's also like, with a lot of his enemies, like, he doesn't kill Joker because if he kills Joker, he's no better than him. Fine. But he doesn't kill Two-Face because he knows that deep down somewhere, there was Harvey Dent. And he wants to see him come back. Yeah,
and Zack lets himself skip all this by jumping right to Dark Knight Returns.
Exactly.
And thinks he can justify that not being a character. He's like, well, it's a Batman, you know, he's jaded as the end of his rope. He's been doing it for a long time.
And it's like, if you want to get there and you don't want to take the years to get there, which, I mean, be patient. Have a Batman movie where you've got the aging tech. Have Ben Affleck play like a Batman over 30 years. From the start to the point where you want him, and where we can watch him have these failures that slowly make him more cynical and jaded. And so it's like when we get to Batman vs. Superman, it's not jarring. He's done one movie. Weird choice. Done one movie where he slow burn it. I also, and this is a really minor thing, I don't want to dwell on this because it's not what we're talking about, but Zack seems way more into Batman than he is into Superman. Like, he wants so badly to make Batman this super badass who can kill Superman and make him better than Superman. But then Justice League comes around and Batman's like, I need Superman. We all need Superman. What am I going to do without Superman? It's like, that is weird. You've just made this relationship weird.
Yeah, like you just nearly killed the man.
You guys were
dead. All of a sudden you're like, well, we should make a team, and then like we need him.
You guys were on good terms for 20 minutes. Like, and now you're like, no, what are we going to do without him? I don't know. You seem just fine with the thought of a world without him 20 minutes ago, my guy.
Doomsday shows up, Superman dies. You had maybe
an hour.
3 minutes of dialogue.
You guys were friends for an hour. It's
maybe not even an hour, maybe like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was bad.
Shows up,
it was bad. Like, and so just the Batman Superman relationship, it's like Zack, and this is just, I guess the problem with the Snyder stuff of the DCEU in general is he wanted to have his cake and eat it too. He basically is like, I want to do this, and this. And it's like, well, you can't do all of that all at once because then it's rushed. And I'm going to bring up our next point, which is the Doomsday. So now you're trying to do a Batman versus Superman, introduce Batman, also do Dark Knight Returns, and the death of Superman all in one movie.
In your second movie of this.
In your second movie. And again, I'm going to draw comparisons to the MCU. That would be like your first movie is Captain America, the First Avenger, but it would basically be the first half of First Avenger and then Winter Soldier, because he has to, be in the modern world. And then your second one is Civil War, where Thanos shows up in the last 20 minutes and Iron Man takes the stones and does the snap.
Yeah.
That's what we have put together here. And then you're like, and now here's a Thor movie where he actually was on Earth in the past.
Yeah.
Like,
also, yeah, Thor showed up at the end too.
Yeah. Oh, and Thor was there. Wait, when did we meet Thor? At the end of this movie. He was an art collector. Why?
It's also weird that Wonder Woman came out after BVS.
It is. I mean, okay, Wonder Woman's a great movie. I'm not going to take anything away from that. But it's just like, again, your release timing is weird. Like, they were trying so hard to compete with the MCU. And it's like, no, if y'all were just patient, y'all took your time, you would have been good.
Like, DC fans are just as fanatical as Marvel fans. If you took the time, you'd make the money and people would be excited for it.
And I'm really hoping that Gunn takes the time.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to. I have a decent amount of trust in Gunn. Not blind trust. It's not blind faith. Like, oh, he's going to do perfect. But I enjoy a lot of what I've seen from him.
You've seen pictures of him reading the source material, like also Superman and stuff. Like, he's doing the research, and he's a big comic nerd. Is the fact he chose Guardians to do.
Yes.
Like, he picked this obscure team out of nowhere.
Exactly.
I read his first. I read in like a history of the MCU book, when Gunn first like went to Marvel, he wanted to do a Hit Monkey movie.
That's hilarious.
And they're like, no.
And even with some of the stuff he's picked for the DC
crazy stuff,
his DC universe, like, he's not just gonna
like pulled out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's not just gonna rush to everything. So I think that's good. So if we got a few more points to discuss, and these are a little more scattershot. A big one, and this was talked about, and it felt like Zack really didn't care and kind of thumbed his nose at it when BVS came out. But like, Superman should have gotten Zod out of the city.
100%.
Like, there is no reason to cause that much property damage. And before someone tries to say, oh, well, the Avengers caused property damage too, they never blew up the buildings. Also,
Avengers was an entire army. BVS, Man of Steel was like 4 people.
And it's like, okay, like, you're going to be like, yeah, well, in Civil War, they talked about how they dropped Sokovia. Yes, but that was still the only way to stop the thing, right? They were always a lot more careful. You see them evacuating people, right? They're focused on civilians. Superman just brawled with Zod through Metropolis. It's like, you could have
for anyone where anyone is. Yeah. Like, you only really care about where like Lois was, and that's it.
Like, you could have had that fight in the sky. You could have had them fighting through like deserts and smashing each other through mountains and slamming each other into the ocean and
going all around the world.
It would have been just as awesome, but also been way less out of character. Because again, we're going to bring up our concept, and this is probably going to be a driving concept when we talk about Superman. Superman as a first responder, as a helper, he's not going to be smashing buildings. Oh, but he's young. Doesn't matter.
He's not like a teenager in this. He's a full-grown adult.
He's an adult. I don't care that it's his first supervillain. It shouldn't change the fact that he cares about people. Superman caring about people, about others, no matter how good or evil they might be, but having genuine care for them should be like your number one point on the character.
Yeah, more than anything else, he makes sure that if anyone needs help, they're taken care of first. Yeah. Or like, unless they're like the villain is putting someone in direct danger, like, he will try and make sure everyone else is safe first and then take care of it.
And that's a really good segue to our next point.
Yeah.
He killed Zod. Now, I can live with that. I still think it's dumb. He could have put his hand over Zod's eyes to stop the lasers. You didn't need to break his neck.
I might be extrapolating from this, but I think Zack wanted Zod because I think he wanted Superman to. I think what he's trying to go for is Superman is killing the last of his race.
Yeah, which again, I don't understand why that felt so important. There's a lot of things that it felt like Zack was like, this is important. And it's like, but why? Why is that important to you? Whatever. But you didn't have to kill him. But all right, let's say you want to. Let's say you need to have that happen. It didn't affect him at all. Seemingly. Yeah, he screamed.
You could have Zod threatening Lois instead of just some civilians that could easily get out of the way. Like, that scene, like, they're like huddling against the corner. The laser's moving like really slow. They can get out of the way.
It was like a Bond trap.
Yeah, it was like the laser and like Goldfinger.
Yeah, like it was. And again, you're indestructible, Clark. Put your hand over his eyes.
Might burn a bit, but still save the people.
Or like, poke his eyes out if you want to do something needlessly violent. But like, you didn't need to kill him there. Right? Like, it would have been a lot different if he was like holding someone by the neck and was like firing and was like heating up his eyes, and like Clark had to like speed past and snap his neck.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, that is imminent danger. This is like, you were holding him. Why didn't you just take off? Fly.
Yeah, do anything.
Like, if you want to have Superman commit a murder, because that's what he did, he committed murder. Make there be literally no other choice. And second of all, have it matter. Have him so devastated by what he did.
We got one like yell of anguish, and then next scene, moving on.
And the next scene he's chipper again, and it's like, no, this should stick with him. This should have been brought up in BVS. He's like, you're killing people. I'm not killing. I'm like, be mad that like Batman's killing people, or that's what he thinks is happening. And he's like, I did that once. I'm never gonna do that again. Like make that up. Make that something that like this was a core development point for him, but you didn't. You just let it happen, and it seemed like it's just something you wanted to have happen. It was weird. I don't know why anybody's on board with that. Superman should kill even less than Batman. Like,
if any one of the three, like of the Trinity, is going to kill someone, it'd be Wonder Woman, because she's a trained warrior and she uses a sword.
I honestly, and this is a total side note, I just don't think superheroes should kill.
No.
And I know I'm in the minority with this. I know there's a lot of people like, no, I want to see people die. Why? Like
you can have anti-hero type characters, and that's fine.
Punisher can kill. Fine. Deadpool, fine. Wolverine, he should do it, but hate that he does it. But it seems like, and this is probably a whole other topic for another day.
Well, Wolverine understands at least that he's what, like he says himself, which is not very nice. Like, he understands that what he does.
He doesn't revel in it.
Yeah, he doesn't.
But every once in a while, you get people trying to get him to revel in it.
It's like, we need to take this person down. Who to get to do it? Send in Wolverine. He's willing to do it.
He's going to do it. He
the job done.
Like, why is Wolverine going to be the member of the X-Men who kills? Because he knows how to do it. He's done it before. He hates that he has to do it, and he doesn't want to let someone else have that blood on their hands.
Yeah, right? He doesn't want anyone else on their conscience.
Wolverine's a samurai, and we love him for it. The man has honor out the wazoo. That is, for my money, the best. When Wolverine is the best written is when there's that deep, like, rooted samurai thing in there. Is Wolverine just a weeb? Is that what we?
I mean, he did like go to Japan and marry a woman there. So,
dude, next week, is Wolverine a weeb? Question mark. The case.
I mean, his like sword and Ten of Swords is the Muramasa. So yeah,
I know but seriously, I don't understand this idea that's like we want killing in our superhero stuff, and it's like, sure, yeah, like I understand The Boys is interesting, but like people are like, yeah, the superheroes kill in there and it's great. Okay, why is that great?
And it works there because the superheroes are all egotistical assholes.
Oh, definitely. But I guess my thing is always, it's like, in real life, we get so upset when the people that are there to protect us kill. So how come in fiction, when these are supposed to be idealized characters, do we get so excited? Or do people get so excited when they do kill? Like, why is that something you want? Please read. Yeah. What's so funny about Truth, Justice, and the American Way. Read it. Just tell me you haven't read it without telling me you haven't read it. Yeah. Tell me you haven't seen Superman versus the Elite without telling me you haven't seen Superman. Okay, a couple just scattered notes about Zack Superman. Poorly established relationships with pretty much everybody. We went deep on his relationship with Batman, but this is kind of his relationship with anyone else, like with Lois. It's just so
The relationship in Man of Steel was kind of weird.
It's just so surface
Amy
level.
Adams is not a bad Lois. She's good.
No, she did great. I really enjoyed her.
And Lawrence Fishburne as Perry is great too.
Mm-hmm.
But like, we didn't really get much of anything there. Oh, that's another, like, this is a nice side tangent. That's another thing. Like, oh, hey, here's Jimmy Olsen. Oh, he's dead.
Yeah, like it just felt like a rush to check off boxes of what people expect to see without making it matter. Like making Lois this linchpin for Superman's character in Justice League doesn't hold the same weight when it feels like the relationship's barely been developed because it's had 2 other movies where they're not even on screen that much together because Superman's doing other stuff.
Yeah, like we get occasional scenes to kind of show, like, you know, like, oh, he like sits in the bathtub with her fully clothed. Like, oh, that's fun, but it's not really
sexy, but whatever.
It's just a cute scene.
I think the dumbest relationship he has is with Wonder Woman. Doesn't make any sense. And we talked about this. I hate that she calls him Kal-El. Okay, all right. Let's say, viewers at home, listeners, let's say you're adopted, right? And oftentimes, depending like how early you're put into the system, your birth parent will have come up with a name for you already. Okay, but then you get adopted.
Use myself as an example. I don't mind.
Okay, so Jared's adopted, which is his parents are great. His birth mom's great. Whatever. His mom had come up with a birth name for him. Okay, but then you got adopted, and your adoptive parents came up with their own name for you. Right. Yeah. This would be like if somebody met you and an hour later is calling you by the name that your birth mom gave you. No one else calls you by that name. Everyone else is calling you Jared. And it's like, okay, why? Who are
it's really
you?
Weird. Like, yeah, why not call him Clark?
Yeah, why not call him Clark? Why not call him Superman? Well, like, who are you to him that you get to just be like Kal-El? Like, you stop.
Also, I'm sorry, Gal Gadot, but that was a terrible line delivery, and that was like the second take.
Like,
because there were 2 different takes between the trailer and the cut, like trailer and the actual movie, and none of them were good.
No, it's this case of trying to rush. Because in the comics, Diana can call him Cal. Because, okay, we're both from like other worlds in a way, and we're both kind of fish out of water, and we can bond over that, and I know your name, and I can call you that. Because that's
there are some alternate stories where like a relationship between Clark and Diana works. Not always, but sometimes.
Like in Justice, they have a great relationship there. They're so in love. No, it's super weird. I hate it.
Diana's so much worse of a character even than Superman is in that franchise.
Man. Oh, it's funny. But no, like it's just like, again, it's like we need to have them feel close and established without actually doing any of the work to get them there. So yeah, he has poorly established relationships.
All these movies are just trying to like, it's like trying to like, they're trying to like jump over, like they're trying to like skip stones, like they're trying to jump over like like they're like they're like trying to like cross a river and there's like stones and they're like skipping every second or third stone to get to the next, like just like leaping to the next one.
Yeah,
try to get to the other side, and it's like, no, you can. Take your time. There's no rush.
Like Batman versus Superman did not need Doomsday. It also did not need Wonder Woman at all. Like those were superfluous additions.
Don't forget the MP4 videos of the rest of the Justice League.
Like because they were like, wait, we have to also set up Justice League during this. Okay, well, why not do what the MCU did and give everybody a solo movie first, so we're familiar with them. So
could you imagine like in like Iron Man 2 or like in this Civil War analogy here, we got like just quick videos showing like Hulk and Clint and Natasha
just randomly
just like doing little things.
Yeah,
it's like one little quick shot of them, like it's just like a shot of Hulk like jump in the desert and like, oh, there's Hulk, and like that's it.
Yeah,
and then he's just in the next movie.
Yeah, it doesn't work. You know?
No.
And it's like, okay, well, sure, Clint and Natasha didn't get their own movies, but they were Clint doesn't really need to be established that much. There's like, hey, there's a dude with a bow and arrow. Hell yeah. But Natasha had like a good established setup in Iron Man 2, right? She didn't show up in the last 20 minutes. She was there for the whole thing. And that's important. That's important.
And like the later ones that get introduced, like Vision and Wanda, all got like full films.
Yeah.
They got like a full film to develop,
or shows or whatever. Like it's everyone's built over time. So yeah, continuing with the scattered thoughts. And this is a note on something Zack had planned. It was my one note on something he had planned. I do not know for the life of me why he wanted so badly to have evil Superman. I don't get it.
I think it's a weirdly popular thing. It's just this weird popular thing, I think, in pop culture right now, or just in like comic media in general, of like, hey, this character that's a good person is now evil. It's like,
but it's always done with Superman. It's like people are scared to write a good, honest, encouraging Superman.
Well, it's either Superman or it's Batman, and when it's Batman, we get Batman who laughs, and that's his own mess.
That's okay. That's just when it's Batman, it's edgelord stuff. When it's Superman, it's just I think a misunderstanding of the character.
When it's Batman, it's like weird, crazy. It's just the fusion of Batman and Joker. When it's Superman, it's just like, hey, like the totalitarian state, like
it's
leader
just tell me you haven't watched Superman versus the Elite without telling me. That's what it is again.
It's just hey, here's Red Sun, but he just went full dictator right away.
Yeah. And another note to that, and this is based off of the nightmare sequence. For whatever reason, Zack just, and I don't know, this baffles me. Maybe it didn't baffle everyone else, but Zack's ideas with Superman's costuming was so weird to me.
Yeah, the use of, like, I don't get. Everyone's like, oh, the black suit. He's got the black. He's just showing pictures of like, oh, look, he's in the black suit. It's like,
why does that matter so much?
Like, do any of the people got excited for it? Like, are you all just that big a fan of like the return of Superman,
or are you just that excited that a beloved,
it's colorful, not fighting the symbiote suit? This does not have the same amount of like love and admiration and like meaning. Like Spider-Man's second most important suit is the symbiote suit. Like Superman had the black suit for a little bit in the 90s and had a mullet, and it was
their
terrible.
Pajamas. He wore it in the Kryptonian healing pod because they were pajamas.
Yeah,
literally, like for lack of a better term,
it's just like a medical robe.
Yeah, and then he wore it essentially because he was in grieving because he was dead. Like that's it. And Zack's like, no, he's gonna keep wearing this after he comes back. And to me, for my money, it was way more impactful in the Joss Whedon one when he shows up in the red and blues, looking like Hope and America.
Also, I mean, I will say this is it's a bit of cheating on Joss's part, but the inclusion of the John Williams theme and the what's Tim Burton's guy?
Danny Elfman.
Yeah, the Danny Elfman theme, like the inclusion of the old classic themes for when they show up.
I feel like that's another topic too, is like usage of music in comic films.
Oh, we should definitely gotta do an episode on like superhero themes.
And definitely I'll have to give a lot of credit to Sideways on that because he has a really good he's a really good video on that. On like the marches and everything. But yeah, like to use the Superman march for when Clark appears, it works. But like you watch the Snyder cut and he's in the black suit. And then he stays in it after the fact. Like we see him like dramatically open the shirt, and I was like, "Oh, he's gonna open it to like the bright red and yellow crest," and he doesn't. He opens it to the silver one. And then in the nightmare, when we see evil Superman, who's evil because Lois died, I don't understand that either because their relationship was not.
It's like Lois died, and that was enough for like him to be corrupted by the anti-life equation. Apparently,
yeah.
It's like,
but it's like then now that he's evil, he's gonna put on the blue suit again. Like, no, it would have made way more sense to me if he's in the black suit while he's evil because black is bad. Like, I don't know what Zack was going for. I think I heard something along the lines of like he was going for like it makes him feel more connected to his family or whatever. But like,
it's kind of closer to like the suits they wore in the beginning of Man of Steel.
But it's like. I always like the idea of the red and blue because it's a connection to Krypton and to Earth.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I like it when his mom makes him the suit and she didn't hear, which, I mean, missed opportunity. It's always better when Martha makes him the suit. It's way cuter that way. But it gives him a connection. He has the coat of arms and the crest of his birth family, something made by his adopted family, and the red and blue is obviously very American, just in an instant look, right? Yeah. And like a connection to his adopted planet as well. And I think it just brings everything together, and it also just looks heroic. Like, I'm gonna feel a lot safer if a dude shows up to dressed in those colors. That's why they put Homeland in those colors, or Homelander in those colors, because yes, he's a psychotic evil person, but they want him to feel safe. They want people
to drape on the American flag.
Yeah, that's why they drape him that, because those colors, those primary colors, are associated with heroes, associated with good. And I don't know why Zack was like, we're gonna put him in the black suit.
It's such a weird choice. It makes no sense.
It's good on all of you who were excited about the black suit, but like, yeah, he wore it for like a few issues, and it was pajamas. Okay,
it's not like that's what gets me the most. It's not like this is like some sort of like secondary suit that Superman's well known for wearing. It's not the symbiote suit.
He was electric blue longer. Yeah. Like, get excited about that.
Superman in the main continuity has had like one costume, and there's been alterations to it, but it's always been the red and blue. Like, whether or not underwear, outside underwear
would have been more exciting, honestly, if they put him in underwear after he came back. That would have been great.
Either way though, like, it's weird because it's not, Superman doesn't have like it's really a secondary costume. It's like tied to his identity as much as Spider-Man does. But like they wanted the same kind of effect as like, oh look, like Superman's like, it's like, oh look, Spider-Man 3. All the marketing was he's in the black suit.
Yeah, but the black suit also means something because it means Venom.
Yeah.
This black suit for Superman just means, okay, he's going to wear that for a little while, I guess.
Yeah.
He bought a new shirt. Nice. Two more things. One, and this is like not Superman, but they just did not do Lex right. And this has been done to death, but I like Jesse Eisenberg a lot. Jesse Eisenberg is a good actor. He is capable of playing a good Lex Luthor. I believe that.
Eventually. They got directed like the Joker.
Oh, no. He acted like the Joker, but like you take a lot more of how he was in Social Network, that kind of arrogant superiority, you got a really good Lex on your hands.
Yeah, arrogant superiority with a chip on the shoulder.
Yeah, that's Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's a calculating businessman. This was a manic mad scientist.
Are we saying Mark Zuckerberg is Lex Luthor?
Yeah. No, Mark Zuckerberg, as played by Jesse Eisenberg in the fictionalized version of his life, The Social Network, is Lex Luthor.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos is more Lex Luthor.
Right, but like, you can even just see like Lex having built a company with someone, and the guy from just like, he's plugged in, he's wired in, and Lex is just arrogantly typing, just being like, yeah, whatever, I bought you out. Doesn't matter. You don't matter to me.
A young tech mogul.
Yeah, like, just watch Social Network. And just be like, replace every Mark with Lex. We'll just do a dub for that. Lex. Hey, Lex.
So Justin Timberlake show up.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, Lex was so weird. Like this whole, he's weirdly like petty and vindictive. Like, and he like I don't think Lex would be the kind of person to like plant a bomb and a. Like Lex would use politicians to like get a bill to go through, or to drive, like he would like bribe whatever else to drive like a policy through against Superman if he wanted to. He wouldn't like commit an act of terrorism.
And like the whole point of Lex in a lot of things is that he doesn't get caught.
No, yeah, he's clever.
Superman knows that he's evil. Lex knows that he's doing the wrong things, but he's smug about it because it's like, Superman, you're in my condo? You're breaking and entering.
Yeah.
You know, there's no proof that I've done anything. So you should leave before I call the police. Right? Because he knows that Superman is going to abide by the laws of the land and go away if he gets arrested. So
yeah, that's where Lex is the power, because Superman knows Lex is behind it, but
Lex is so good at making sure no one else does.
Yeah, like Superman, like he can't do anything about it. He can't just throw Superman. You can't throw Lex in the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, whereas this is a guy who almost wants everyone to know that he's behind it. And it's like, the motivation isn't that Superman's a god and we don't deserve to have gods or something like that, or they come from hell. The motivation is that Lex is jealous. Lex wants to be the savior of the world. Lex wants his money and power and tech to save everyone, not Superman.
We oddly kind of get the Lex we should have right at the end. Well, not like right at the end when he's like hiring Deathstroke.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think like people are like, well, that was the point, is that he changed and became like, why though? Why do that at all then? Why do any of this? It's weird. And of course, the biggest, I think, failing of Zack's Superman is that all the pieces were there. You had Henry Cavill, man.
Yeah, you had pretty much the best casting we could get now that Christopher Reeves can't do it anymore.
Yeah, like you had a guy who physically just looks like he was carved from stone. And personality-wise, in real life, just seems so compassionate and caring for everyone. Like when it was like National Superhero Day, and he tagged every MCU actor, every DC actor, and he's just like all excited, like, yeah, we're love all you guys. Like, that's Superman, man, right there.
And there's a bit like he was like walk through like Times Square with like just glasses on and like a Superman shirt, and no one noticed him.
Yeah.
Like walking around in a mask at Comic-Con to surprise Will Smith.
Superman, and like we have things like Clark should be like this huge nerd, and Henry Cavill's this huge nerd, and he's like not nerd, and like Clark plays with, you know, science kits. He's not Peter Parker, but like he's a big, kind dork, kind of.
Yeah. The persona of Clark is he's just a well-meaning kind of bumbling farm boy. And
then the persona of Clark in Smallville is he's a well-meaning, less bumbling farm boy. Who's incredibly handsome and dated the hottest girl in school. But it's like Clark is just a nice person. And I don't think we got enough of that. And you had Henry Cavill, who seems like, you know, for all intents and purposes, just a nice person. We didn't get a lot of that. And it's weird.
Cavill's is the biggest possible nerd because he's a Warhammer 40k fan.
Yeah.
That.
Henry Cavill did not pick up the call saying that he was getting the Superman because he was too busy playing StarCraft.
He was like so steadfastly like pushing for authentication with The Witcher that he left because it wasn't going.
Yeah, like you cannot have someone more suited in my mind to playing Superman than him. And that's why everyone's so mad that he got taken off from it. And I understand that James Gunn is going in a younger direction. I respect that. I understand that. I'm still disappointed.
Yeah.
Because the moments where Zack did well, the moments where Joss did well, the moments where someone did well with the character of Superman, it was incredible. My favorite,
even Affleck too as Batman. Like he just like his actions aside, Affleck does a good job playing the role of Bruce in Batman.
He feels really good in Justice League when he's less of a jerk.
Yeah.
But like my favorite moment in Man of Steel, the whole thing was the very end. The two military people like walking in, and Superman lands in front of them with a satellite. It's like, are you trying to spy on me, General? It's like, well, you're a foreign entity. Like, we don't. It's like, from Kansas. I'm as American as it gets. You know, it's like, you don't need to worry about me. And he flies away. It's like, that felt like Superman. You know, he's like, I don't want you watching me. I don't want you keeping tabs on me everywhere I go. I want you to trust me, and I'll trust you. You know, I'll answer questions that you have, but I'm not going to tell you who I am because I deserve that privacy. Right? And I'm American. Like, I'm here to help. I love that. Love that.
That made me think of a mini side tangent.
Oh, yeah?
I think I have personally. The fact that, like, apparently Snyder was planning the whole time that guy was John Jones. Like, what?
And then he wasn't. I don't know.
Like, yeah, Martian Manhunter's here too. Okay. Like,
and again, it's like trying to rush things in. It's like you can't just cram every character in 5 minutes.
No, you can't just have a character show up out of nowhere and then just expect to have like no dissing to Black Widow as a character, but she's never been like, she's not like the top of the list A tier Marvel character, so it's okay that like you throw in as part like as a major player in Iron Man 2.
But John Jones, like Martian Manhunter, is pretty high up there for a lot of people.
He's like one of the founding Avengers members.
Justice League members, but yes.
Justice League member, yeah.
Avengers. Oh, what? Hey, you. Oh my gosh. But yeah, that's our list. that's our trial. He's guilty of failing Superman.
Yeah, like you said, all the pieces were there. You had good cast. Like, even though I don't love Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, I think at least in her solo movie, she did a good job.
She did a great job in that one.
But like, you had a good cast. The pieces were there. You had this whole. You had an empty slate in front of you. Maybe it was pressure from DC, from like the executives from Warner Brothers that like rule, like, for all we know, it could very well have been that they just wanted to get to an Avengers real fast, and if that's the case, then that's out of Zack's hands.
Yeah, but the actual
Warner Brothers for not like you. I don't think they realized the DC fans are just as rabid as Marvel fans.
I don't think they've ever realized that, and I don't think that they actually see that their DC movies as something genuine that people actually want. It's almost like they're an obligation to them.
It's so weird because they nailed it for years with the animated stuff.
Years. They're still nailing it. The animated stuff is awesome.
Like,
guys, Superman Man of Tomorrow rocks.
They had a full-on like animated universe that worked from like the one after Flashpoint Paradox when Justice League War.
It started out New 52 inspired and then went in a lot of other directions, and it was great.
From like War to Apocalypse War. Like from Justice League War to Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, you have this whole animated version of like DCU.
Mm-hmm. I watched the whole thing; it was great.
Yeah, all of them are great. Well, most of them are great. Like balances a bit, but overall, still, you really nailed it. But for some reason, Warner Bros. Like for the live action stuff, it's like, no, we got to get to Avengers right away. Like we got to get to
Justice League first. Like, why? It's dumb.
But you're already behind. Take your time and plan out the right movies, plan out your scheduling, and you have the pieces, you have the actors, and like you have like Zack with a bit more time. Like, it's not. We've been saying he didn't go in the direction we think the character should go, but Ian is like a weird Elseworlds like.
He at least would have put something coherent together.
Yeah,
he had a coherent plan, and I'll give him that. I disagree with it. I feel like he doesn't understand the characters at all. Given the fact that like he was able to that he put this version of Superman to screen, but there were flashes. Yeah. There were flashes of something really great there. So I ended up just really disappointed, and I'm looking forward to Superman Legacy. I'm really looking forward to it.
And I hope this next slate from Gunn and Safran leading it ends up being
actually works and is good. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's our discussion. I'm genuinely curious to hear what you guys think. I mean, if you think we're wrong, you can tell us. We won't agree with you, but you can tell us anyway. Yeah.
I mean, there's diehard people that love the Snyderverse, and that's fine.
Like, I accepted that I'm not going to convince anybody, but this is a topic we wanted to talk about because I think for myself, I don't want to speak for you on this, but like in the past number of years, I've developed much more of a love for Superman than I had because I finally get it. I finally get him as like the first responder, and that's why it's okay that he's overpowered and can do anything, because we need someone like he's there to save us. He's there to save people, not to fight evil, but he's there to save, and sometimes that means fighting evil.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the episode. We definitely enjoyed putting it together. I mean, we always enjoy putting our episodes together. We only pick topics that we're actually gonna have fun doing. We're like, that's a fun topic. Let's do it. But if you guys have any ideas and stuff you want us to talk about, let us know. Drop a comment, drop a tweet. We'll see it and we'll talk about it. So for Beyond the Panel, my name is Colin.
I'm Jared.
And hope you guys have a great day, and we will be back. Bye.
Bye.